A British infantry patrol is moving through a dusty compound when the air cracks. Rounds are impacting all around them, and the entire squad is slammed into the dirt to find cover. The incoming fire is heavy, precise, and completely out of reach. It is Helmand Province in 2009. The troops scanning the horizon can see exactly where the shots are coming from, but nothing they carry can effectively shoot back. This graphic shows the physical limits of a standard infantry squad. The service rifles these men carry lack the range to engage accurately. Their heavy machine guns can cover the distance, but they cannot pick off specific targets. It creates a dead zone between 400 and 800 meters, where an adversary controls the engagement. The sheer number of casualties forces the British Ministry of Defence to issue an urgent operational requirement. They allocate £1.5 million to rapidly purchase and issue over 400 specialised, long-range rifles to frontline patrols. That specific battlefield gap had already been completely documented and solved. Not in Washington and not in London, but inside the main artillery directorate of the Soviet Union in 1958. When modern militaries ignore the mechanical solutions engineered by their adversaries, soldiers on the ground pay in blood for problems fixed decades ago. Early in the Cold War, the Soviet military standardized the intermediate AK-47 cartridge for its troops. In doing so, their commanders realized they had inadvertently opened that exact 400 to 800 meter hole in their own squad's firepower. To close it, they handed the state requirement to Yevgeny Dragunov. He was a fourth-generation gunsmith from Izhevsk who spent his days designing highly specialized sporting rifles that won hundreds of medals for Soviet Olympic athletes. Building a rifle for an international shooting competitor requires absolute mechanical perfection. To guarantee a bullet passes through the exact same hole time after time, every internal piece of metal must be fitted tightly, with zero room to rattle or shift. Dragunov's new assignment demanded a weapon accurate enough to hit targets at 800 meters, but rugged enough to survive freezing mud and a conscript's daily abuse. A man who had dedicated his entire career to perfecting target accuracy realized the only way to meet this military requirement was to build a rifle an Olympic shooter would consider intentionally flawed. The 1960 state trials for the new weapon were punishing. Every prototype submitted by the country's top designers suffered critical part failures or unacceptable inaccuracy. Even Mikhail Kalashnikov looked at the competing demands and walked away from the competition entirely. Dragunov won with this design, the SVD. He embedded the contradiction directly into its mechanics. Up front, a short-stroke gas piston forcefully cycles underpowered ammunition through sub-zero environments. To compensate, he free-floated the barrel and added a rigid, skeletonized thumbhole stock. The resulting platform is a heavily negotiated settlement. Half of the weapon is engineered to survive the worst conditions on Earth, and the other half forces the shooter's eye into the exact same repeatable sight picture every time they pull the trigger. Following its 1963 adoption, the rifle went into mass production. By the 1970s, nearly every Warsaw Pact infantry platoon carried the Dragunov. Then, 12 years into its service life, the Soviet Army reached in and deliberately degraded the weapon's most critical measurement. They changed the internal barrel rifling, dropping the twist rate from 320 millimeters to 240. This chart shows the immediate consequence. When firing the specialized match-grade cartridge, the weapon's precision fell 19% overnight. The military eagerly accepted that loss for one specific logistical advantage. The new twist rate perfectly stabilized the standard light ball steel core ammunition already used by the squad's machine gunner. If a Dragunov operator ran out of specialized rounds, he could pull cartridges straight from a standard ammunition belt and keep firing. An army does not degrade the accuracy of an elite sniper rifle so it can fire machine gun surplus. That single decision proves Dragunov never built a sniper's tool. He built a pragmatic utility weapon meant for the third-best shooter in a 9-man squad. Western intelligence analysts looked at this widespread Soviet deployment and made a fatal linguistic error. They translated the Russian designation Sniperskaya Vintovka literally into English as sniper rifle. Bound by that label, NATO militaries evaluated captured Dragunovs against their own fragile, high-precision bolt-action systems, like the American M24. Tested purely as a dedicated sniper platform, the Soviet rifle fell short. Western procurement boards continuously resolved engineering contradictions in favor of absolute accuracy. Perfect precision is easy to chart on a spreadsheet, leading them to fund beautiful, highly sensitive rifles issued exclusively to a handful of school-trained specialists. A rigid vocabulary and a spreadsheet-driven logic caused Western militaries to dismiss the Dragunov entirely, blinding them to a highly effective battlefield concept for nearly 40 years. That blindness lasted until the early 2000s, when NATO armies fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan slammed directly into the 800-meter dead zone. Desperate commanders flooded the system with emergency requests. The US and UK rushed to field entirely new systems, like the M110 and the L129A1, handing them out at the squad level to give normal infantrymen a fighting chance. To classify these weapons, the English language had to invent an entirely new term, the designated Marksman rifle. They were describing exactly what Dragunov had built in 1963. The West didn't lack the engineering capability to match the SVD. They spent 60 years refusing the philosophical bargain Dragunov struck, the willingness to sacrifice a perfect shot for a rifle an average private could safely operate under fire. The Dragunov sat in plain view in threat briefings for half a century before its true purpose was understood. It leaves a difficult question about what other foreign innovations we currently dismiss as flawed, simply because we lacked the right words to understand them.